Hey everybody, it's Book of Katherine. I hope you're doing well. So I'm going to cover some censored text today. So for example, this is one of the most incredibly censored books I've ever found. So this one, The Devil's Chemists. And if I had not found this, I would not understand half of what the President of the United States is doing today. So when I found The Devil's Chemist, this book, The Devil's Chemist, when I found it, it informed me, for example, just in the last week, the president made an announcement that the COVID-19 vaccines were going to be made. They awarded the government's contract to Abbott Labs, and that was instead of BASF. And BASF, I now know, is the number one chemical company in the world, but it was the Nazi manufacturer behind, is a lobbyist behind Hitler. Hitler was nobody and couldn't get elected until BASF and Bayer, the two largest oil and chemical and pharmaceutical companies in the world, they came behind Hitler and started becoming his lobbyist firms. And they are still lobbyist firms today. And so when COVID-19 hit, President Trump used that opportunity and awarded our contracts. He could say, well, it's not safe to go outside of America. We need to go inside of America. And he awarded it to Abbott Labs. And because I found these censored books, which you'll learn online, I offer a PDF on my links to a PDF on my website, bookofkatherine.com. There are links to The Devil's Chemist PDF online because it's so highly censored. I understand announcements like that. I understand how important they are, that we separate from Nazi chemists like that. Another thing that I understand because of things like this are like when the Beirut explosion happened and there was a massive corn silo there. Well, Bayer is involved in the corn DNA, the corn fields around the world. Every country is growing corn for Bayer. Like Nebraska has a massive corn program. That's for Germany's Bayer. The Bayer is short for Bayern. That's just the county in Germany. Bayer is just when you buy a Bayer aspirin. That's Bavaria. Bayern is just the word for Bavaria in Germany. So, and they backed Hitler. If they had never backed Hitler, we wouldn't have had the Holocaust. So that's how important censored books are. And so today I want to cover what I think is probably the most censored text that I know of, because the translations of it are so incredible. And it took a long time to find it, even though we've been digging for censored texts, even through the Quran and things like that. So I'm going to be covering the speech on the Mount of Olives. It's the speech that I just found it only in the last month. It's the Beatitudes. If you notice, we've been finally going through digging into ancient texts, these ancient thousands-of-year-old texts, not just Hebrew texts. We've been going through all of them. We've been digging through Roman texts. We've been all of them through ancient Greek texts, ancient Hebrew texts, all of them Mesopotamian texts. But the Hebrew texts are some of the most censored of all. It's been really, really hard to find Hebrew texts. All the Babylonian texts are out there. They're very easy, but Rome is very hard to find. Hebrew is very hard to find. But what's interesting is that everyone thinks the Beatitudes, these texts of Jesus Christ, are out there. Everyone thinks that they're fully available for everyone, except that they're hidden, just like a lot of the things with the Quran are, they're hidden in the translation. And I'm going to share that with you today. So have you noticed as we've been digging through this, our YouTube or social media starts recommending new videos for us, and they're all the sort of content within the area of Hebrew texts. And so I've been getting a lot of pastors or churches or rabbis. And what I notice is with anyone who's touching the New Testament, I notice that they are always touching Paul or Revelations and Paul. They're never touching the Gospels. They're never touching what Jesus says. And I think there's a reason for that. You never ever hear them studying the words of Jesus Christ. And I think there's a definite reason for that. The words of Jesus Christ don't really gel with the Old Testament. They don't really gel with Revelations. They don't really gel with what Paul's saying. I don't really think Paul has also been translated completely differently. That's been very fascinating to go into the new translations. So anyway, what I'm going to be going through, on my website, I think I still say the King James Version and then the NASB version. We're now into the Message, which that's it. Like the Message has unlocked everything. So now I can't walk upstairs to go get it, but now I think I'm on my third Holy Bible. And I'm like, now I'm getting extra. Now I have like 10 books upstairs of extra texts of the Hebrew translations, like Tobit, of Old Testament things, not Old Testament, but anyway, I'll go into that later. And Enoch and things like that. So I'm getting this whole, because they've hidden 70 texts. The Old Testament is very limited and the Talmud is very, very limited. They cut out like 70 books. So there's a whole bunch of books that they study or that they've censored. So I'm going into that. Anyway, so here's the Holy Bible, and it'll say the King James Version. Well, now the one that I actually study from is where it says the Message. And I want to show you today the difference between the Beatitudes of, let's just say, the most popular one that people do, the New International Version, and the Message. And I'm going to show you that. The most thing that I find the most often with translations, no matter what I compare, even NASB to the Message, is that the Message is like twice as long. And then the King James Version is like half as long. And I'll find that with Enoch, there would be half as long and twice as long. You see that with translations all the time. And it's very interesting to see. So I'm going to go ahead and compare these for you about these censored texts and the Beatitudes. The reason I'm doing the Beatitudes is because it's the very first speech Jesus Christ ever gives. Once I've now studied, I've been doing a map of like what happens after reading the letters of Pilate. And it turns out that Jesus isn't really doing a whole lot until the John the Baptist guy is taken away. The moment John the Baptist is taken away, then all of a sudden Jesus Christ goes right back up to the Sea of Galilee and then boom, gets up on the Mount of Olives and just goes, or just gets up or I don't know if it's Mount of Olives, but that's when he gets up and that's when it starts recording. It's as if they hit the recorder and he starts going public. Before that, I guess he was in synagogues. I don't know. I need to study it again, but that's the big thing. Like before that, it's all text from the other guy, the prophet they say was coming before. The Beatitudes is the first time he gives a big speech, and it's very, very different. So it's the very first thing that supposedly the Messiah of the entire Old Testament, plus all these 70 things. And if you read the book of Enoch, the Messiah is a really big deal, especially in terms of demonology and angels, like all the Azazel and all these things. Everything changes at the point this Messiah touches earth. And so the first words that he says to public are kind of a big deal. And no one studies it. No one talks about it. Chuck Missler, nothing happens as far as I can tell. So let's go ahead and read these things. All right, let's go. All right, so right away, you can already tell when you compare them. If you look here, this is the NIV, super, super short, and this is the Message, much longer. Do you see that? That's the Message, and that's the NIV. So this is the Message Beatitudes. This is the NIV. Beatitudes, first words that Jesus Christ ever spoke. This is the Beatitudes for the NIV, New International Version translation, and this is the Message translation. I checked it. This is 180 words. This is 319 words. 139 words longer. Already you can see the difference. There's no way that is anything other than dramatic editing by the people in charge who are editing it. You know that they are truly taking things out. Why is that important? Because the Beatitudes has it, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Right? Everyone goes by that Blessed are, that verse has done more damage than I can imagine, especially as a young Catholic girl growing up. And then in the translation here, in the Message, it says instead, you're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With less of you, there is more of God and his rule. That's a little bit different. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Versus, you're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With less of you, there's more of God and his rule. Little bit different. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Versus, you're blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then can you be embraced by the one most dear to you. One capital. Kind of a bit different. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. How many people have heard that one? They've actually done books on that and movies on that. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. This says, this is even longer. They really double up this one. You're blessed when you're content with just who you are. No more, no less. How often have we discussed that idea of humility? You're blessed when you're content with just who you are. That's identity. That's actually talking about self-esteem. So this Messiah guy for the Jews and then further on for the Gentiles is talking about self-esteem. You're blessed when you're content with just who you are. No more, no less. I have an actual video on that idea buried in there. You've got to be kidding me. Like a year into my channel. No more, no less. You're blessed when you're content with just who you are. No more, no less. I had to go do counseling to learn that out. That's the moment you find yourself proud owners of everything that can't be bought. Oh, okay. I think I'm going to end right there. That's the moment you find yourself proud owners of everything that can't be bought. Little bit different than blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Versus, that's the moment you find yourself proud owners of everything that can't be bought. And that, my friends, is the difference. You can see why globalists that existed all the way back then on King's Road, you can see why they wouldn't want people to be proud of everything that can't be bought, because then you don't buy things to make yourself feel better. Translations mean the world. If you feel meek and small, you buy things to feel bigger. And here you find a translation of the most popular religion in the world saying, you don't need to buy anything. Feel proud of just who you are, no more and no less than who you are. Be proud of exactly everything you are that can't be bought. Can you make a list of everything you are that can't be bought? Are you able to do that? I certainly haven't heard a pastor teach on that in the time that we've been working on these texts. And maybe that's because they're reading all these translations done by kings in their kingdoms who had a vested interest in making sure their people never heard those words. I'm glad we found the message. And that's the power of looking in to censored texts. Talk to you guys later. If you can, donate $1 down below. Just $1 a month goes a long way. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.